All right, I'm going to break down a first lien HELOC, what it means, and a second traditional HELOC, which is what most people are accustomed to. There's a lot of misconceptions on what we can and can't do, but I want to clear the air because there's a lot of people that just have no idea. All right, in a traditional setting, you have your first mortgage. Let's just pretend we owe money to Chase. You have a bunch of equity in your home and you want to tap into that, and this is where the banks will come in and give you a home equity line of credit. All right, let's say our house is worth $300,000 and we want to tap into this equity. Most banks will give you 80, maybe 90% of this number here so you can tap into it. If we got 80% of 300, that means we can borrow up to 240,000 less what we owe on our mortgage means you have about $140,000 worth of equity that you can use. Now, this is how we use our first HELOC. And again, all this means is that we're in first position, just like a traditional mortgage. So all of you mortgage lenders, realtors, people that say that you can't do a first lien, you can. If you don't believe me, put your money up. We can bet all day long. I'll gladly take your guys' money. $400K on a sales price. The minimum down payment on a primary is 10% down, 90% loan to value, meaning we can borrow up to $360,000. $360,000 will be our credit limit going forward on our first lien HELOC program. Right off the bat, we don't have two mortgages. We have just one. This is the advantage to using our strategy. If you do this, you have to still make your first mortgage payment. You have this interest-only payment on your second. So now, let me give you some harsh reality, what a lot of you are gonna face here in the next few years. Most of you wanted to tap into your home equity because you bought during COVID, you got a low interest rate, you probably have more consumer debt today. The typical mindset is that I don't want to lose my 2, 3, 4% interest rate, but I got a shit ton of equity in my house. How do I tap into it? Because I want to consolidate my credit cards. I want to renovate my house. I want to do something to tap into this equity. So you go to the bank, they give you a second mortgage. Pay attention because this is where a lot of you are going to get bit in the ass, and you have to know this now or else it's just going to cause you such a headache down the road. During your draw period, the draw period is the period of time that the bank allows you to access your line of credit. You can do whatever you want with the money. They don't care as long as you're making your interest only payment. At the end of the draw period, if there's still a balance that's owed, you have one of three options at that point. You find another HELOC to extend the draw period to take your payment back down to an interest-only payment. Because once your interest-only payment expires, your payment then becomes a principal and interest payment, so an amortized mortgage. Now you've got two mortgage payments you have to make. It's going to be a lot higher than what you initially paid because you were only paying interest only. Second option, you suck it up and you just make the payments. Third option, and this is where a lot of you are going to fall victim to, is that you didn't pay down your second mortgage. You still have a massive balance. You're then going to be forced to refinance, hopefully, hope and pray that you have enough equity still in your house and your LTV is still there. Your neighborhood didn't go to shit and now your home values are upside down. You're going to refinance your first and second mortgage back into one loan in a 30-year mortgage again because your loan officer is going to tell you you're going to save all this money on a monthly basis because your payments are going to drop. And then all of that time and effort, energy that you did to protect your low rate to never lose it, you're going to lose it. So if you have a second mortgage on your home and a HELOC, do your best to get that thing paid as low as you possibly can so you do not have to deal with this. And I'm telling you, of almost 20 years of doing this, most people are always taking out more debt. They consolidate into their mortgage, they pay their credit cards off, and then what happens 3 or 4 years later, 5 years later, they have more credit card debt again. So if you took out a HELOC to consolidate your debt, stay disciplined to get that thing paid down to zero as fast as you can. So that way you do not have to lose your 2, 3, or 4% interest rate on your first mortgage. If not, like I said, you're probably going to end up refinancing. Now on the flip side, you can use a first lien HELOC. This is where you already are in a home equity line of credit. We don't need to refinance. We don't need to chase the interest rate. We don't need to do anything because our loan is predicated on our cash flow. The money that we deposit and the money we have left continues to force the pay down of this loan. Unless you decide to not go to work, not make your deposits, and start blowing your cash, This is a great way to pay your home off faster, still giving you equity in your home to consolidate debt, do whatever you want with the equity, and get yourself out of debt faster into a better position. I literally just got off the phone with this guy this morning. He's got 29 and a half years left on his mortgage, and we're going to pay it off in about 7.5 years. And look at that. It saves him $583,000 in interest. HELOC just literally takes your normal banking and just works in your favor. Instead of making your deposits into your checking account that sits there, doesn't do anything, the deposits that go into the HELOC, our first lien HELOC, pays your loan balance down dollar for dollar. You can deposit $1,000, you can deposit $100,000. You're effectively reducing the balance, which then reduces the interest. And even though we're using the HELOC to pay for our expenses, you should still have a residual amount that's left over every month that continues to also force the pay down of your mortgage. So you're paying down the loan twice, if not 3 times throughout the month, one with your initial deposit, 2 with the excess cash that's left over, and 3, any idle cash that you have sitting around in a checking, savings, or high yields or money market accounts. A second HELOC has its purpose. It does help people, but my guidance would be you have to try to pay that thing before it gets to the end of its expiration period on the draw. If you get to that point, you have to then figure it out, whether you take out another refinance. But again, you're constantly doing these refinances, taking out HELOCs, paying these closing costs over and over again. And this is what the banks want. They want you to keep paying money. Loan officers want you to keep refinancing with them because they make money off of you. If you get into a first lien HELOC, that might be the first and only mortgage you ever need for as long as you own that house. So just think about all the transactional costs that you could save over the life of the mortgage by being in the right product. And this is why I always say the best strategy is more important than the interest rate you get on your mortgage. If you want to see if this works for you, send me a message. We'll run some numbers, see if the HELOC can be a great way for you to get out of debt, build some wealth.